Our next presentation will be on the next generation cinema, the hybrid theater. Our speaker is Mr. Ron Gillen from the Walt Disney Company. Ron is the technology manager for Walt Disney Animation Studios.
As everyone heard, my name's Ron Gillen. I'm not used to speaking, so bear with me. I work for Walt Disney Studios, and I was tasked with building theaters. That's one of my jobs. I build theaters, I build production pipelines. I'm involved in every aspect of Walt Disney Studios presentations. Now, part of that was the invention of 3D stereoscopic as far as digital projection. And this happened 3 years ago. We were making Chicken Little. We just basically re-renovated our theater, and it was Christmas 3 years ago. And then we were tasked with doing 3D Chicken Little. It proved an enormous task. They gave us 3 weeks to prepare a theater in that had absolutely no 3D technology involved. Real D gave us the equipment to do that, to which we thank very much. But other than that, there was a total nightmare integrating everything else. One of the important things to do was to go through the history of the theater when we were going through this. So we learned from the past, and then we looked to the future. Now, sorry about this. Real D, although they were great, is not a simple plug-and-play device. It has to play nicely with our other film projectors that's in the booth, as well as the other digital projectors that's in the booth. For instance, there's a 1K projector, there's a 2K projector. They don't talk to each other very nice. And when people do presentations, they choose a 1K projector over a 2K projector. There were many obstacles to come across, to get over. By far, one of the biggest obstacles was digital projection itself. The studios are going total digital for many different reasons. The main reason is security more than anything else. With the old technology, we had to standardize, which what that actually meant was theaters themselves would not pay to show your movies, so to speak, our movies. They wanted a standard way of doing it, so they brought out standardization for 35 mil, which meant that any invention they come with after that had to work with existing equipment. CinemaScope lenses would fit on existing 35 millimeter film projectors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The digital realm come across, and there's a whole new euphorium of technicalities came into play, which we found extremely difficult. Enter the DCI spec, which is the equivalent, the modern equivalent of the old engineering spec. But far more, the reason studios are really going for this more than anything is the security. The DCI spec, as you can see over there, gives the opportunity for a studio to produce a digital cinema package. And what that means is they will produce all of the content. It will be encrypted from their servers. It will download onto a server at the local cinema, encoded. What that also means is by the time it gets to that server, the projector has to talk to the cinema server. They have unique IP numbers between devices. If none of those IP numbers hook up, this thing will not play. And it's produced a lot of problems for us trying to get this thing up and running. On top of that is we do digital watermarking. One good thing about digital cinema packaging too that we've done is, say for instance, we release a movie and we've misspelt someone's name. It's very easy for us to go in and rectify it. The phenomenon of the home theater industry, now Disney took this by, they embraced it. They were the first to put their movies up on iTunes. It's continuing to grow so much that what we can see the future is that our delivery of the initial movie will not just go to theaters, it will be available for download to iTunes immediately. So you have the choice. Do I watch it on iTunes? Do I watch it at home on my widescreen TV? Or do I go to the local cinema and watch it? Which also brings in another question. The question is, what happens to the theaters of the future? Well, We're hoping that 3D takes off. These statistics may be wrong now, but they were right 1 month ago. So before anyone corrects me, as in Mr. Real D person at the back, they may be wrong right now. That's in the US. Now, the slides more or less speak for themselves. So I will go on. Now, the 3D artists that we have currently at Disney, amongst them, Phil McNally used to be at Disney. He's since gone to DreamWorks. But we experimented with the 3D window, trying to get people away from the pukey effect of watching 3D movies. And it doesn't work for me because I'm everyone's worst nightmare for 3D movies. I will puke. So I'm a good test bed if anybody wants to try me. But the animators are trying really hard to try and get this going. Modern stadium seatings in the theaters. Let's get back to theater building, which is what I do. I was tasked with building 3 theaters. We asked several questions. Okay, what's going to be in these 3 theaters? What are we going to show? We're going to show standard 35 millimeter because that will not die whether we wanted to or not. We're going to show it. We're going to show 2D and we're going to show 3D. Some of the projectors that first came out, which was the Christie CP200, we had nothing with problems with because there was no zoom lens on the thing. It was built for a standard theater and we were severely limited to what we could do. That's why we had 2 projectors. So it's important for us to look at exactly what we want those theaters to do. And at the same time, it's important for you guys and everyone out there to realize what's going to happen to the cinemas of the future. I mean, are we going to show 35 mil or are we going to show 3D? We're on the birth of a new generation of theaters out there. It is a unique opportunity. Once we start downloading to people's HD monitors at home, what happens? We're going to have to draw the audiences in somehow, and the only way we can do that is think of unique ways to do that. Amongst them is 3D. Hannah Montana was released in theaters. So there's other movies that Disney's coming out with. We've got a full roll of movies. I've also been tasked with coming up with some way to do 3D editing. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. We're working with Avid, we're working with many other people. I understand there's many different technologies available, but editors are editors. They love working with one tool, that's an Avid, so we have to figure out a way to make an Avid work. There's no way to view this while editing in real time. Normally the way that we do an image is we'll render it, then we'll look at it on a 3D system, which is the theater normally, and then we have to go back, change it, re-render it, and go look at it again. That's time consuming, we can't do that. So we're looking at unique ways to do real-time viewing before rendering. These are typical viewing angles in theaters. All of these statistics interest me. They may not interest you, but this is, as I said, this is what I do for a living. This is a unique seating situation that I came up with. One is for 3D, as in the blue, and the other one is for 2D. That way you could standardize theaters, regular theaters these days, the short, fat ones, and you could colorize the seating so everyone knows the best seating patterns to sit in for 3D viewing. 45-degree angle for CinemaScope. This is boring details, so I'll just let it play. But we have to take a lot into effect when we look into making a theater. The walls, they emit light, they reflect onto a screen. Entrances and exits, the rigging, seating, etc., they just go on and on. I'm a little bit selfish here. This is production related. Something like a retractable staging needs to happen. A stage in front of a screen produces acoustics that nobody really wants, so we have to do something about that. We have a retractable desk for where the director would sit. And at the back there's a CPU area where we would normally do our AV. There are issues, as I say. There is 3D stereoscopic with the Real D system, and unfortunately it lowers the light. This doesn't help some when we use the same projector for regular 2D viewing. And we're having to make 3, 4, 5, so upwards of 5 channels on the digital projection system to allow us to view both images. Also, it doesn't help us when we have to change between the images. But now I understand that there is was the double light system or something that you said? Screen gain. I won't bore you. This is with a flat screen. The images actually reflect onto the sides of the walls of the theater, and we're looking into that as opposed to a curved screen. We're looking at screen tilts and the actions that happen when you have it incorrectly put your projector the wrong way. It causes keystoning. This is, I call this a Gillen screen. In our present theater, there is no room, there is no fly space. Now, you need a silver screen, you need a white screen. There is also other issues, which we've learned from our existing theater. Audio, for instance, goes through a micro-perforated screen. Now, if we have a static screen, which is what we have in our present theater, the audio doesn't go through the micro-perfs very well. So what we had to do was put a 3D screen down in front of it, which, as you can imagine, made the audio sound muffled, so we need 2 EQs for that. Hence this screen. I'm flicking through now because I have 2.5 minutes. Masking is another thing. I call this the THX sale. This is just specifications that THX come up with that we must go through when we're building our cinemas. The theater that you see is an actual design that we did for the new environment. This is a uni booth. Now, this would save all companies a lot of money. It's very, one projectionist can operate a multiple of theaters using this system. And these are all specifications for RealD and the conclusion. I can try to take a few questions, but if I can't answer it, I got to tell you.
Okay, questions? Everybody just hold on, I'll walk over here.
Man.
There you are.
Larry Hornbeck from Texas Instruments. The THX certification, that was an old idea that I thought had died a long time ago. Is that still alive?
It's still alive.
Well, who subscribes to it? I mean, none of the theaters are certified as far as I know. At least the ones I go to all look uniformly very bad.
Right.
You know,
the production environment, they insist on having that stereo, the Dolby experience. It's a nightmare for me because I have to fulfill it. But I've gone to not every single theater, but I've gone to quite a few theaters out there to see what's in those theaters. We try to go beyond THX certification in what we do anyway. And then THX want us to do double walls and things like that, and then gaps between walls. And in reality, you can't do it in the regular playhouses.
Jake Kuykendall from Boston. Does Disney have a strategy for getting the stereo 3D into the home DVD market?
Yes.
Okay, other questions?
What would be the strategy?
I can't tell you that.
Anyone else want to try this?
I encourage you to read the paper. That's what the human resources people tell me to say. No more questions?
Any more questions, please? Okay. Thank you very much.